After reading the chapters for today and preparing my memorial on 9/11, I felt like I was starting to get a firm grasp on what exactly a memorial is. I like the analogy that when memorials are to ideas, memorials are to objects, these problems we are willing to endure and sacrifice so we may have something else. But unlike the my story, I was having trouble finding and understanding the me in the memorial. With the printing list of the automobile deaths and the AIDS quilt, I understood that it was a collaboration of all of these different individual stories into a cumulative public status as a sacrifice on behalf of an unrepresented national value. Ulmer does mention, though, that the memorial uses the outside disaster to discover and map this inner condition of the agent, to get at what is hidden in the shadows. So I took all of these concepts together and I tried to create what my memorial is for 9/11. So here is a typical image from 9/11, and one that is often used for us to remember the event and to mourn it. We all recognize it, and we are told that it should inspire certain emotions within us. And I doubt anyone here could say that what happened wasn't a horrible event. And here we see the official monument to 9/11 commemorating the terrorist attacks. I've seen parts of the documentary on the design and the building of the memorial. The poles are located in the footprints of the two towers, and according to Wikipedia, are supposed to represent the loss of life and the physical void left by the attacks. But my memorial and experience to 9/11 is perhaps similar to many of those in this room. Many of us are around the same age, middle school or junior high, and like me, we all might have trouble remembering the day exactly. But we've all been told from that day to this one how important and significant it is. Because I was so young, my experience on that day wasn't as deep and moving as it should have been, or at least as important as others have told me. And as our generation passes the mark where we spent more time post 9/11 than pre 9/11, we are all told how this act tested our nation and we emerged stronger than ever and united. It's becoming one of those events like Kennedy's assassination where we will be always asking and saying, "Where were you when this happened?" If someone didn't tell me on that day, someone sure did within the week that this would become an event where our children would ask us where we were on September 11th. But where was I on 9/11? What was my experience? What is my personal contribution to the memorial and the commemoration of this event? And though many others have constantly told me of the importance my experience was on that day, the reality of it is that I don't truly remember. I only remember bits and pieces. I was 13 years old and in the 8th grade, and like many teenagers, I had this persona of I don't care. My first memory, and my only real firm memory of the whole day, is being on break between second and third period and following my friend into a classroom where the teacher had the TV on, and I remember glancing up at the screen, scoffing, and walking out. As a 13-year-old, you couldn't force me in front of the TV to watch the news. I didn't care about the rest of the world. I was just trying to focus on surviving out the day in junior high. In my next class, though, I believe we turned on the TV and watched the news coverage. I can't even remember if we did this in every class, though. But I do remember knowing that if I had watched the coverage during my break, instead of going to get a slice of pizza perhaps, I would have seen the second plane crash into the building. I remember this precisely because it became some sort of sick game in my classes as to who had first heard about or seen the attack. As a bunch of kids, we didn't necessarily understand all of the implications of the attack. I think we all knew, including myself, that this was a momentous occasion and it should be remembered and revered. But at the same time, I had never heard of the World Trade Centers before. I didn't even know what the buildings were or what they looked like. I didn't understand. And it wasn't until the years passed that everything that did and would come to pass become relevant. And I think that this is one of the sacrifices our society pays in respect to any disasters. In order to ensure our children stay children, we protect them from certain news coverages. We protect them from bad news and cover up the deaths of life. We give them kid versions. And as a result of this activity of separating the dirty and the death from kids keeps them from truly understanding these important events as they are happening. We are told what to feel about 9/11 from the collective. The memorial for 9/11 represents these values of freedom and unity. But at least for myself, there's a definite disconnect between myself and those ideals in that monument. I feel a sense of shame at my own behavior and feelings. Many of my own generation may have similar reactions because we didn't understand what was going on that day and didn't feel what was necessary. But we were alive and when it happened, and that is what is now considered important. People will always ask us, "Where were you that day?" And I will probably constantly feel some shame as I turn my back on that first glimpse of the towers. There are many emotions people feel when it comes to 9/11, but many of these emotions are kept in the shadows and suffered so the dominant and prescriptive emotions can be the ones expressed. And I hate to go slightly Platonic on this, but for me, these images of 9/11 have become the way I remember it. I have become reliant on images to represent this great day. I have pushed my own memories, which were not what I was told they should be, to the background and have allowed the images to remember for me. Could this be one of the sacrifices we are willing to give so that we can have these impressive memorials and a collective unity on the ideals? Are we willing to give up our own personal experience if they don't match what we are told they should be? Are we willing to live simply through images? I'm not sure for anyone else, but I am definitely a suppressor. I suppress bad thoughts and experiences. And that is my own personal sacrifice I need to mourn perhaps. That I block out events and experiences of my own life and let images remember for me.